this is what's really important. This shows us how serious this all is, because the adults are in charge. Because it doesn't matter how many Ukrainians may die over the next several weeks. It's as long as we get the Green New Deal passed and global agreements on climate, that's all that really matters.
I'm very concerned about Ukraine because of the people of Ukraine and because of the principles that are at risk in terms of international law and trying to change boundaries of international law by force.
It's gross.
I thought we lived in a world that had said no to that kind of activity, and I hope diplomacy will win. But massive emissions consequences to the war, but equally importantly, you're going to lose people's focus. You're going to lose certainly big country attention because they will be diverted, and I think it could have.
You got to get your priorities straight.
So, right. I think hopefully President Putin would realize that in the northern part of his country, they used to live on 66% of a nation that was over frozen land. Now it's thawing.
He doesn't care.
At risk.
He doesn't
people
care.
Of Russia are at risk. And so I hope President Putin will help us to stay on track with respect to what we need to do for the climate.
So there you have it.
You know what Putin should do? He should say, like, John Kerry, I heard what you just said. I will definitely make sure that we transition to all renewable energy. Let me have Ukraine.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
He should say that's the reason he invaded Ukraine.
We got to sacrifice Ukraine to save the world from climate change.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, you don't get more global elite than John Kerry, right?
No.
And so this actually is a very disgusting window into their mindset. He doesn't give. All right, we've already had the F-bomb. He doesn't give two shits about the people of Ukraine. That was kind of like he just passed that off. I hope diplomacy wins, but what really matters, and it's really in the best interest of Vladimir Putin to get on with the Green the Green New Deal program, to get on with the global green initiatives, because it's the tundra is melting in Siberia, and that's in his interest to make sure that doesn't happen. That is the coldest thing I've heard yet said about this war in Ukraine, because that's all that really matters to these people is the green agenda. They don't care about actual people.
Yeah, but this is the same guy who not that long ago, I think was it in Glasgow, Donnie? You remember this, right? In Glasgow, when they asked him about the Uyghurs, the Uyghur slave camps. And he was basically
whoa.
like,
I'm not the genocide czar. You're gonna have to ask somebody else. I'm just the climate czar.
I'm the climate czar. I'm not the human rights czar or whatever he said. It was basically that. I mean, we could pull up the quote. It was that. That was the quote. It was something very close to that. So I mean, am I shocked that he's now looking at this and he's saying, oh my God, this is a disaster. Why? Because it's going to draw attention away from climate change. That's where your concern is. Well, if the reporter had any brains at all and asked a question like, how can you say something like that at a time when a country is being invaded by another country? I'm sure he would say, whoa. I'm not the invading country czar. I'm the climate czar. So I'm focused on that always, all the time. I got to be focused on that. And if Vladimir Putin only could realize that the snows in northern Russia are melting, maybe he would stop and change his mind.
Maybe
I have news for you.
Maybe his heart would grow 3 sizes that day.
I have news for you. Does anyone know, what do we know about northern Russia? It sounds horrible. If there was melting snow,
in the gulags, right?
If there was melting snow in northern Russia, wouldn't that make it a better place? I don't know. I don't think that talking about Siberia having less snow is going to be a very persuasive argument to the Russian people about why they should be really concerned about climate change and not invade another nation. Also, part of the reason he's invading this nation is so that he can pump more fossil fuels into Europe. So the idea that he's concerned about climate change, and if only we could just get the right climate change argument to Putin, then he'll see the error of his ways. No, he won't, because it's the next KGB authoritarian thug that doesn't care about snowfall levels in Siberia. He cares about taking over nations and expanding the whole concept of this great Russian empire that he was really sad fell apart when he was in the KGB. I mean, that's what this is all about. John Kerry is a moron. He is a moron. And the fact that this guy was almost president of the United States is unbelievable that he was ever chosen, because not only is he a moron, he's aggressively boring. aggressively boring.
Right.
And yet somehow this guy almost became president. What is wrong with this world that we live in? It is, seriously, it's shocking how horrible things are. It really is.
Is it possible that Neville Chamberlain has been reincarnated as John Kerry?
I think that is Neville Chamberlain. Actually,
is that possible?
I think it is him. He's 130 years old, and he changed his name to John Kerry.
Sorry. All right, we're already long here. I will say that if you want to make sure that you catch every episode of this, if you're an audio listener, nothing has changed over the last couple of weeks. But for those video listeners, you might have to start finding us in a different spot because our content is under attack by YouTube. So we have created our own channel for this podcast, the In the Tank podcast channel on YouTube. You can go and find that there. If that gets canceled, then whatever, we miss out on a couple of subscribers, but make it more subscribers by going to there and making sure to hit that subscribe button. If you, again, for those audio listeners that are listening to this on a Friday, you can join us a day early on Thursday by watching our Rumble feed or our YouTube feed. You can join in the conversation, leave a comment or question. We'll maybe throw it up on the screen or address it on the fly. If you'd like, you can follow us on Twitter at In the Tank Pod. In the Tank Pod, I think it's called.
Yep.
But Twitter's terrible, so don't go on there. And if you have any comments, suggestions, or questions for the show, feel free to email us at inthetankpodcast@gmail.com. Jim Lakely, where can the fine people find you?
You can find me at J Lakely on Twitter, at Heartland Inst on Twitter, and always visit heartland.org.
Fantastic. And Justin Haskins, same question.
At Justin T. Haskins on Facebook, socials, Twitter, Getter, Parler, and all the other obscure social media websites that most people don't know anything about.
That's right. And
that's where I live.
That's true. In obscurity. Chris, you are a ghost on social media, but you have made a habit of making sure that people head over to stoppingsocialism.com. So I'm going to steal your thunder and pitch that for you right now.
Absolutely.
But I will ask you to just join me in saying goodbye to the fine people.
Bye, everybody. We will see you next week.
God willing.
God willing as well.
Thank you all for tuning in. We will talk to you next week.